everyone, and welcome to Gorilla Whale, a Godzilla watch-along podcast. I am your kaiju consultant, Kevin Carpenter.
Actually, it's Titan, not Kaiju. I'm Kayla Knudsen.
It's such a strange rebrand in the Monsterverse, but all the giant monsters are not kaiju, they are titans.
It can't be a Japanese word.
Nope,
This is an American movie, Kevin.
Yeah, I think Guillermo del Toro also beat him to the punch. You know, they're like, we can't, we can't have anything associated with Pacific Rim.
I think people kind of thought because Pacific Rim was a lot of like American audiences, maybe introduction to kaiju. I think that
the term.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The term kaiju. I think it kind of, people sort of assumed that kaiju meant Pacific Rim monsters. And it got associated too much with that, especially because there was then a sequel with Pacific Rim and whatnot. So I understand that maybe the studio was like, we need a different word for it so that they don't think it's Pacific Rim. Or that they were just like, come up with an American or an English word.
Well, speaking of Pacific Rim, let's get the plug out of the way. We have a bonus episode where Kayla and I talk about Pacific Rim, among other movies like Mothra and Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. And you can listen to all of those episodes by heading to our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/Digital Kaiju Studios, link in the show notes. Throw some money our way and listen to a whole private playlist where we talk about a bunch of different other giant monster movies. And by the way, audience, here's a neat little trick. You can just throw us the money and then listen to the whole playlist, and then you don't have to stay subscribed. But if you do stay subscribed, we would appreciate it, as you would be supporting independent media. So, plug out of the way, let's talk about the movie that I have been wanting to talk about for quite some time. This is my Shin Godzilla, Kayla. We are talking about Godzilla, King of the Monsters, 2019. Not the 1956 remake of the original Godzilla. We already did that episode. So, Kayla, real quick, what'd you think?
It was good.
It was fun?
Yeah.
You texted me yesterday before we were to record. By the way, audience, we're recording Kong Skull Island and Godzilla, King of the Monsters back to back today.
We do a lot of double feature style stuff.
Yeah, we do a lot of double recording. And you texted me, I've watched both movies and I have a clear favorite. And I'm like, oh, do tell.
Well, I was like, I need to let Kevin know that I did watch both of the movies in anticipation of the record. Because we'll check in on each other, like, we're still on, right? Blah, blah, blah. So I just wanted to let you know that I did watch them. But I was like, I can't just say, I felt it would be really ominous to just text, I have watched both movies, period. So then I was like, okay, I have watched both movies and I have a clear favorite, was what I said. And he was like, it's Kong. And I'm like, it's Kong.
You love that monkey.
I love that monkey. That doesn't mean I didn't like this movie. I just liked Kong a lot more. I felt like this one had some parts where it dragged a little for me, and I did not have that experience in King Kong.
Interesting. I think this movie is kind of a roller coaster ride. Like, we very much get to the next thing immediately.
No, it especially in the beginning, it really moves at a quick clip. I mean, this movie is made for Kevin.
Yes.
To begin,
yes,
I think one of the things
Legendary was like, listen, we need to appeal to our primary demographic, Kevin.
If Kevin was able to build a movie, this would be what he would make. This is very much his thing. I think one of the things for me in this movie was that there was some of the dialogue sometimes was just it was very, for lack of better, I kind of hate this word, but it was a little cringe sometimes, the dialogue to me. It just felt kind of generic action movie, and it sometimes there are moments and beats where you're like, no, this time we're joining the fight. And I don't know, it was just something about that felt really cheesy, and that's what this movie is. This isn't me criticizing the movie. I know what this movie is and what it is trying to achieve, and I think it does it. I'm just saying sometimes I bump against those moments, and a cheesy movie, there's a lot of different types of cheesy movies and a lot of different types of cheese, I think. And sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'm eating it up, and then sometimes it's like, I feel lactose intolerant,
Yeah, this movie, I think, is peak post-MCU, 2010s, or rather, we're in the midst of the MCU at this point. And it's, the poster design is blues against bright oranges. every scene has to end with like a little quip.
Yeah.
We're moving forward with the Tony Stark holographic technology, which I got some opinions about that as well. But yeah, it's like this movie is also moving forward at an incredibly
Yeah.
fast pace, and this is a movie about hammering in as many giant monster fights as we can.
Yeah, and you know, this movie is achieving what it wants to achieve. I'm not as into it necessarily as I was into, say, Kong. And again, we do the comparisons because we just watched both of them this week and have just recorded the Kong thing. And then, of course, you know, they are both in the same universe.
Yeah.
So there is a commonality. Or, you know, I mean, when you talk about movies that are supposed to be in the same cinematic universe, like, you're going to talk about them in comparison to one another. This was I enjoyed this a lot more than I enjoyed Godzilla 2014.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my.
Yeah.
Historical context, folks. Young Kevin is going into the movie theater, and he's like, "Well, Godzilla 2014 was a piece of garbage. So you are going to have to work hard to gain back my confidence with Godzilla 20." Whoa!
I like that you say.
That's me on the roller coaster ride of this movie. It's great.
I
It's
like
awesome.
that you say young Kevin. This was in 2019.
I was so young, so naive.
We knew each other in 2019. Yeah, again, not to say that I didn't like the movie. I did not like it as much as I liked Kong. That's all.
Yeah. It is also fascinating because you look at Godzilla 2014 where you can't see anything because it's super dark and gray. And then you come to this movie, the direct sequel, and everything is very colorful, which is very funny considering that the opening of this movie ostensibly takes place during Godzilla 2014. But it's like everything is incredibly bright orange.
I appreciate that they upped the saturation and the lighting and whatnot.
So that way you can actually see the monsters.
Yeah.
And then when the monsters get into a fight, we don't immediately cut away to a sleeping child in their living room watching a news report. Oh, hey, fight's over.
This movie,
I will never forgive that.
I'm trying to see, when did Avengers Endgame come out? Because you said in the midst of the MCU, I'm like, well, it's the same year as Endgame. So
Avengers came out April 26, 2019. This movie came out May 31st, 2019. So this was literally the month after Endgame.
This was
came
the
out.
big tentpole movie after Endgame.
Yes.
I mean, I probably just didn't see the movie because I was like, I don't give a shit about.
Yeah, this was pre-Godzilla, Kayla. This is before you made the podcast.
I will say this, well, because we're gonna do or Godzilla versus Kong, and I did want to see Kong versus God. I thought Kong versus Godzilla was maybe gonna be my first movie back in theaters after COVID and whatnot. Or did they released it in theaters, right?
Godzilla versus Kong? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was COVID. It was early COVID stuff. It was 2021.
Yes.
So it was the vaccine year. I had wanted to see it because I was very interested in the idea of a silly.
But Kayla, you were going to watch it without the necessary context of the previous 3 movies? That's not how a shared cinematic universe works.
And that may have been why I didn't go see it, because I was like, I'm not going to catch it. I was like, I've only seen Kong Skull Island. I was like busy.
But no, see, that's why I was really excited to revisit this movie. Because when I originally watched Godzilla King of the Monsters, I hadn't gone through the entire Godzilla franchise from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So watching this movie now with all of the historical context of Mothra and Rodan and King Ghidorah, and we talked about this in our previous episodes on the Godzilla anime trilogy, where it's like technically that King Ghidorah was the first time King Ghidorah isn't like mind controlled and is acting of his own agency. And here in this movie, we get pure eldritch alien wants to destroy the entire world of his own volition because he's evil King Ghidorah.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, this is legitimately one of the best, I think, presentations of King Ghidorah in any of the Godzilla movies.
Yeah, the CGI was a little on King Ghidorah.
Really?
I felt like it seemed a little unfinished.
No, one interesting thing they do with King Ghidorah is they have the 3 heads have their own minds, which was not a thing in the previous franchise.
Yeah, but this is a post Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone with Fluffy.
True. I will also say this is a fun fact. So during the production, each of the King Ghidorah heads had their own names, Ichi, Ni, and San. 1, 2, 3 in Japanese. Except the head that gets a little distracted and gets bullied by the other heads got another name in the fandom, Kevin. And then Legendary had a tweet with a poll, which head is your favorite? And Kevin swept the poll. It was like in the 90 percentile.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, but your name is a punchline name.
Kevin is the name of so many villains and jerks, especially in like children's media. SpongeBob SquarePants, Steven Universe, Ben 10, and now the third King Ghidorah head. Officially acknowledged.
Hold on, I gotta tell you something. I don't know that there's any overlap in our audience and what I am about to tell you, but it's Kevin related, and you can.
Oh, great. Awesome.
Give me a second. Okay. In the Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir,
oh boy,
in the third book, and I guess mild spoilers, there is a gang of children characters. Their exact ages are unclear, like probably middle schoolish.
Uh-huh.
The Locked Tomb series is a sci-fi fantasy kind of a thing. A lot of the names are very strange. You know, it's the whole Galadriel, Sam, sort of thing going on. But the names of this child gang, it's Hot Sauce, Born in the Morning, Honesty, Beautiful Ruby, and Kevin.
Yep.
And it's just Kevin.
Just Kevin.
That's the gag.
There's a subreddit r Kevin where it's just people with the name Kevin, socialize and hang out and talk about how great it is being a Kevin.
Tame Impala's name is Kevin.
Yep. No.
And it gives us you guys know that our friend group loves saying, "Shut up, Kevin, just get in the car."
From the hit song Dracula by Tame Impala. It's just one guy. His name's Kevin.
I've heard
that so many times.
Yeah.
God. Anyway, yeah, so I share a name with one of King Ghidorah's heads now. I can add that to my Kaiju resume.
I love that.
So, historical context for Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. The MonsterVerse plan is in full swing. Godzilla 2014 wasn't that critically acclaimed, but did make a bunch of money. Kong Skull Island also made a bunch of money, and we're full steam ahead. We're going to do another Godzilla movie, and then we're going to do our Godzilla versus Kong, and hopefully that makes a bunch of money. Spoilers, it will.
It will, but it's interesting. 2019 was a huge year for movies.
Yes.
And Godzilla King of the Monsters ranked 22nd in the box office with a worldwide poll of 387,300,138. Detective Pikachu, in comparison, was 18, and it made 433 billion and change. Of course, the highest grossing movie was Avengers with almost $2.8 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lion King was number 2 with 1.6 billion-ish.
Now, are those box office numbers
worldwide?
Domestic or
nope,
that's
it's
worldwide.
All worldwide.
Okay.
All worldwide numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to say, Godzilla King of the Monsters made a ton of money.
Yeah,
blah,
it did
blah,
make
blah.
more money than Endgame. But
I know, but I'm just saying, that year was so big that Godzilla making almost $400 million at the worldwide box office still put it at 22 in the ranking. That is how absolutely stacked. We have been chasing Hollywood has been chasing 2019 forever, and we will never get 2019 back.
Dang, what happened after 2019? We were so young. So the reason this movie came out in 2019, by the way, so the first movie, Godzilla, came out in 2014. The director, Gareth Edwards, he did sign on for the sequel, but he delayed production so he could work on Rogue One, the Star Wars movie. And then on May 13th, 2016, he's like, actually, I'm not doing it. So they delayed the movie so Gareth Edwards could work on it. And then Gareth Edwards was like, nah, I'm going to do other stuff. And so they bring in writers Mike Dougherty and Zach Shields, who at this point, their big, most recent thing was the Krampus movie. And Michael Dougherty also signs on as director. And he reveals at a Tokyo Comic-Con that he is a huge Godzilla fan. And you can see there's a lot of references in this movie. But I do want to state that because I give so much shit toward directors who state outright, I don't care about Godzilla. So Michael
Yeah.
Dougherty being like, I'm a huge Godzilla fan is a breath of fresh air, surprisingly.
I also think it's really funny that you identify Mike Doherty and Zach Shields as the guys from Krampus. Our audience may also know them as Trick or Treat.
Oh, yeah. But that's the thing. It's like those movies are also pretty colorful. They're a bit goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they certainly bring that into King of the Monsters. And it's so apparent an aesthetic difference between Gareth Edwards doing the pitch black Godzilla 2014 and, as you say, Godzilla King of the Monsters being super duper colorful.
It makes sense though because it's continuing the tonal language from Kong.
Yes.
Like Kong reset it a little bit, even though it's not a Godzilla movie, it's in the MonsterVerse, and that one was made by people I think that love King Kong and wanted to really make a King Kong movie, including the cast. And so they were able, did really well. I was gonna say, I think it maybe did a little bit better critically than King of the Monsters did. Okay, so the Rotten Tomatoes score for Godzilla King of the Monsters, the tomato meter, which is the professional critics allegedly, is 42%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I told you, I was like, this movie did not get good critical reviews. The popcorn meter, which is just like lay people, is 83%.
Yeah.
Kong Skull Island got 70% on the popcorn meter, but it got 75% certified fresh on the tomato meter with the critics.
Mm-hmm.
So Kong Skull Island did better with the critics, and King of the Monsters did better with the audience, apparently. Which is interesting that the popcorn meter is 5% lower than the tomato meter. Anyway, that's it.
Okay.
There's no... I
It
just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And, you know, I've tried my best throughout this podcast series to look at these movies critically and without nostalgia or the blinding goggles of like, well, it has a charm to it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to go into a lot of the stuff with King of the Monsters that doesn't work, especially the human characters. But I think in terms of mission statement, this movie nails it. And it does a lot of cool things with the Godzilla characters that I very much appreciate.
Yeah.
The biggest thing off the top of my head is that this movie treats the kaiju like natural disasters.
Yeah.
And the visual language of that is very stunning. Rodan is a volcano. King Ghidorah is a hurricane.
Yeah.
In 2014, Godzilla was likened to a tsunami. And in this movie, he is likened to an exposed nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
Mothra is the sun. Like, there is so much going on with this movie, but they make sure to give these monsters the vehemence that they have, especially when the giant monster fights are happening. We make sure to cut to the human characters running desperately away as the world around them blows up.
Oh yeah, I think that the human POV in this movie is done really well and does give you a great sense of scale. Speaking about the human characters, that could be part of the reason that Kong did better critically and that I liked it a little bit more, is I think, yes, the characters are pretty thin in Kong Skull Island, but the sheer charisma of the cast is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, they really, even though there's not a lot there, these are just movie stars that I am gravitate towards so much. Whereas with Godzilla King of the Monsters, I think that same level of charisma just wasn't there. Not to say that they didn't have a great cast, it just did not have the level of star power or charisma or whatever that would carry over that hump in this movie in comparison to Kong. And so I think that's kind of why sometimes I was just like, it was dragging. Because I was like, I can watch Brie Larson, Sam Jackson, and Tom Hiddleston all the live long day. There's a reason Marvel put them in their movies. They knew what the fuck they were doing. These guys, I mean, yeah, you have a stacked cast. But you got Eleven, you got Friday Night Lights, you got, what was the mom? Oh my God, she was in something too. Literally, I kept, like, the entire time watching this movie, it was just like, oh, it's so-and-so from such and such.
Oh yeah, they got
you know?
Charles Dance, the guy
Tywin
from
Lannister.
Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones. He's playing the villain in this movie, and he's having a great time with it.
He's great, yeah.
Actually,
the mom is from Conjuring.
Yes.
You know, it's just not quite the same alchemy as what the other one had for me.
I will say, so Vera Farmiga, Millie Bobby Brown, and Charles Dance all stated in various interviews that they loved Mothra. And in fact, in a video with IGN titled Charles Dance Responds to Godzilla IGN Comments, he stated, quote, "Look at Mothra spread her big wings. Female beauty at its peak."
I loved Mothra in this movie.
She's great. This is so good.
Yeah.
This is such a good representation of Mothra in this movie, of King Ghidorah, of Godzilla, and Rodan as Starscream. Very fun.
Yeah. The monsters they nailed.
And a giant monster movie, you need to do that.
Yeah.
So let's get into the movie itself. So we start in 2014 during the events of the previous movie, but like I said, it's not in the aesthetic of the previous movie. Everything is incredibly bright orange. It is the ruins of San Francisco. We have a couple, Mark and Emma Russell, searching through the ruins for their missing son. And then Mark looks up and sees the titanic figure of Godzilla. 5 years later, Emma lives in a top-secret monarch facility in China's Yunnan rainforest with her 12-year-old daughter Madison, played by Millie Bobby Brown. This is the height of Stranger Things popularity. And also, did you know Millie Bobby Brown's name is different now?
Yeah, she changed it because she married Bon Jovi's son.
I learned about that while I was researching this movie. I have not kept up with her career, but the fact that she married Bon Jovi's son and is now legally Millie Bonnie Bon Jovi. That sounds like a joke, but that's great. But also professionally, she's still Millie Bobby Brown because she's got money attached to that name.
Yeah, and it's a whole SAG thing.
Yeah.
But Millie Bobby Brown is truly just doing side quests now.
Yeah.
She has like a farm. She's rescued dozens of animals. She's living her damn life.
I love the name Millie Bonnie Bon Jovi, but for this podcast, I will be referring to her by her professional name, Millie Bobby Brown.
Well, Millie Bobby Brown is a little British girl. Millie Bonnie Bon Jovi is from Jersey.
Yeah.
She's the queen. She's the princess of New Jersey now.
That's how you do it.
She's the princess of New Jersey.
So the facility that Madison and Emma are in is known as Monarch Outpost 61, the Temple of the Moth. And inside the temple is a giant glowing blue egg. But then the egg hatches and a giant CGI, incredibly terrifying Mothra larva appears. And they create a little force field around it. And then the force field turns off and it's like, what happened? Oh no, we have outside interference. And then everything goes red from Mothra larva's bioluminescence. And she gets pissed off and just starts killing guys and flinging them on the walls and shooting silk at them.
They shoot at her.
Yeah, they shoot at her.
She's not doing anything until they shoot at her.
Exactly.
And it's one guy that got scared and trigger happy. Everybody's like, don't shoot, don't shoot, don't shoot. And then he shot. And then she's like, well.
But I appreciate this movie continuing the tradition of making Mothra larva terrifying.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Yeah. And then Madison and Emma go out. They have a little suitcase-sized device known as the Orca. And as they open it up, they play the, quote, alpha titan frequency. And then Mothra calms down. So yes, we are dealing with alpha pack dynamics disproven by science, but whatever. We're going to keep this going.
100,000 words, Godzilla, Mothra, Omega Verse AU.
That exists.
I know it does.
So Mothra calms down because they found the frequency that calms down titans, not kaiju, titans. And then armed mercenaries, led by Colonel Alan Jonah, played by Charles Dance, raid the outpost. And, 2019, you have Tywin Lannister come in and kidnap 11. Everyone's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh no.
So then we cut over to Dr. Ishiro Serizawa, Dr. Vivian Graham, and newcomer Monarch Director of Technology Sam Coleman speaking before a U.S. Senate committee about Titans and the importance of Monarch. The U.S. military, of course, just wants to kill all the Titans and just kind of get the problem out of the way. And Monarch is like, hey, 1, we shouldn't do that. 2, not sure if we can do that. 3, these are creatures that, we kind of want to preserve because they're all technically in danger because there's only one of them each, except for the Mutos and the Skull Crawlers. But we do have a great line where the military is like, oh, so are you proposing we make Godzilla our pet? And Dr. Ishiro Serizawa, best character in both of these movies, goes, no, we would be his. I'm so glad they brought back Dr. Ishiro Serizawa. There's a moment later on in this movie that we are going to have to talk about at length.
Well, yep.
Anyway. So our trio then go out to find Mark Russell, who now lives in Colorado photographing wolves. They tell Mark that his wife and daughter have been kidnapped. And Mark is very mad about a lot of things. He doesn't like Godzilla for killing his son, technically. He is incredibly divorced.
Yeah. Friday Night Lights is having a bad time over here.
Yep. He is pissed off that they apparently took his research for the orca, and then his bitch ex-wife finished the research on the orca and actually made it. He's like, this was for whales. We were going to do their biofrequencies for whales. Why are you doing this for Mothra?
He says it was to keep whales out of the harbor, so that they wouldn't get killed and stuff.
But in these moments before he joins the rest of the characters and they all become an amorphous protagonist blob, his character trait is that he's angry about a lot of things.
Yeah, he's the most divorced man in the world.
Before Elon Musk took that title.
I know. I'm just like, anytime that there's some guy in a movie and he's the most divorced man in the world, I'm just like, he's always some guy that ruined his own fucking life.
To be fair, this movie calls that out later on, which I very much appreciated.
It's like, yes, okay, see, he had hardships, but a lot of people were affected by the Godzilla situation.
So they go to Monarch's underwater base, Outpost 54, Castle Bravo. And then he is introduced to Monarch scientists Eileen Chen and Rick Stanton and G-Team Colonel Diane Foster. And there's also the same with Kong Skull Island and a lot of other small characters just kind of in the background filling up the room. But at this point in the movie, all these characters will now be in the same room as each other for the rest of the movie. And they slowly lose character traits as their role is now to spout exposition at each other and be like, we need to fly our mobile fortress over to the next giant monster fight. Let's go!
They had somehow less personality than the squadron of soldiers in Kong.
Yeah.
There is one in this, I think it is in this initial scene. There is one really great line that made me cackle. It's like, we have bad news. You can just say news. It's always bad.
Rick Stanton, I will give a shout out. He is played by Bradley Whitford, and so he has gray hair. He's the one that's doing most of the quips.
Yeah,
he was apparently directly based off of Rick from Rick and Morty.
he kind of stands out to me, I'd say, as one of, when we talk about the amorphous blob of protagonist scientist characters, he was a standout for sure.
I will say, so Colonel Diane Foster, she's the leader of G-Team. That's what we're calling the military branch of Monarch. So is that better or worse than the G-Graspers?
It's better. It's way better than G-Graspers.
And, we mentioned with Kong Skull Island, racial casting, the G-Team Colonel Diane Foster is a black woman. And I was like, oh, hey, there's a lot of diversity in this movie, too, as it's a worldwide adventure. But I do appreciate that it's all right, we got the Chinese scientists, we got our white guys, we've got, the black woman military colonel playing against a type with a lot of these other, who's the head military guy in charge in movies like this, Or also we got Sarazawa and all that good stuff. Like I said, diverse casting, very cool movie. Their characters slowly morph into a singular blob as the movie goes on, but,
Part of me thinks that the diversity in the casting was partially just to distinguish the characters because otherwise I would have been like, it's the same guys. They're all if it was a whole bunch of white guys, it'd be like, I don't know.
It would be even more apparent.
Yeah, it'd be even more apparent because they all looked alike. But since they all looked different, it gave the illusion of these characters being a little bit more distinct. Because even if there wasn't enough of an impression on them for you to remember their name or whatever, you're like, oh, Bradley. Well, I mean, I know Bradley Whitford, but it's the white-haired old guy versus, the black lady that's in charge versus the old white man who's the antagonist.
Yeah.
I think part of it was a visual distinction that they needed to do because everybody was too samesies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's maybe my cynical, a little bit of cynicism eating in there, but yeah.
So, speaking of the white British villain, so we do get some exposition. Alan Jonah is a British Army colonel / MI6 agent turned eco-terrorist who wants to use the Titans to end human society. He's an accelerationist who believes the giant monsters will fix the Earth by killing most of the humans.
Eco-fascism.
Hooray! So,
that hooray is ironic.
The hooray is ironic.
To be clear.
So G Team thinks that he's using Mothra for his evil plans, but Mark believes that this is a distraction. And sure enough, it is. Jonah's mercenaries steal a jet and head to Monarch Outpost 32 in Antarctica. After killing all the guards, they discover a Titan contained in the outpost, contained in the ice known as Monster Zero. Do you get the reference?
Yeah.
Do you get it?
And when they're like he's heading to Antarctica, they're all like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, which is a great scene. They're like, "Hey, what's in Antarctica?"
Oh no.
So then they start loading the ice with explosives, which is great. So back at Castle Bravo with
Which is sure to be bad for the rising sea levels.
it is kind of funny that he blows up an ice cap for his pro-climate, like anti-climate change agenda.
Oh, a big budget Hollywood movie being very clunky with environmentalism. Shocking.
They had to cut the scene where he blew up an orphanage.
Sidebar, the project that I am currently working on,
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to go for some sustainability, like tax credits and things like that. And we were looking up facts about sustainability in Hollywood and the carbon footprint of movies and whatnot. This movie had a massive carbon footprint. And most of it was probably actually fuel costs. The largest portion of a movie's carbon footprint is the fuel cost. Not just for trucks, but also the transportation of actors.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of actors, they will fly in and fly out on the weekends. Yeah.
I imagine also like generators and
Oh yeah,
stuff
the
like
generators, yeah.
Yeah. Once again, we have the nature message in this movie. Like in Godzilla 2014, you know, when the U.S. military was heavily involved, and we need to make sure that we're not apologizing for Hiroshima. Let's change the themes about humanity's hubris and trying to control nature. This movie had much less military involvement, and I think they kind of learned a lesson from 2014's production. And I do think that's also why Monarch has all of these incredibly high-tech Iron Man-like holographic technology and super jets and Antarctic
It had
bases.
a lot of what is it, B2s, B-52 stealth bombers?
Yes.
Yeah.
But CGI stealth bombers.
Yeah.
They weren't actually flying.
They
them,
didn't get to have actual ones.
So yeah, so they didn't have the military breathing down their necks. Watching Kong Skull Island and then watching this movie is like Monarch is John Goodman having to beg a senator for funding for one last expedition, and then Godzilla King of the Monsters post.
Now they're S.H.I.E.L.D.
Now they're S.H.I.E.L.D.
The one thing. Speaking of
They
the,
have so much money now.
I would actually, one of the things, I don't know if anybody listening to this podcast knows this, I'd be really fascinated to know the costs of the CGI B2s versus the cost of flying a B2.
Ooh.
Like, because the fuel for these jets is expensive as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every flyover at a football game is just thousands and thousands of taxpayer dollars. I mean, it looks cool, but dear God, you know? And granted, when Hollywood uses a military, like, affiliates itself with the military and uses real military equipment, I don't know who's footing the bill on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if the movie has to reimburse Hollywood, or if part of the appeal of it is that the military is paying for that, you know, and subsidizing the budget of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just be really curious what the cost is of the visual effects of, you know, that amount of screen time for the B2s versus filming a real B2.
I think that would be interesting to look into, but we
Because
don't have time for it right now.
Yeah, I don't know enough about how much any of that costs to say one way or another.
No, we have to return to Castle Bravo, where our amorphous protagonist Blob, their radar picks up Godzilla.
It looks like an oil rig.
Yeah, everyone readies for a fight. They're readying the Maser cannons, another Godzilla reference.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mark yells at everyone to stand down. If you're not ready to win this fight, then don't fight at all. And so the shields open, and Godzilla is there, underwater, in the distance. And his dorsal plates are lighting up in blinking blue colors, an intimidation display. We have a lot of conversation throughout this movie because Mark is interested in animals, so we have a lot of conversation about like animal territory, intimidation displays, hunting patterns. Like this is how we ascribe motivations to Godzilla and, like the rest of the creatures in this movie. And so everyone kind of backs down, and we get a little jump scare where it's like, oh, hey, Godzilla's gone. No, wait, he's right here. Ah, he roars. And then he swims past Castle Bravo. And so they are realizing, oh, he's leaving his usual territory. He's getting ready for a fight. And so they follow Godzilla inside their flying headquarters, the USS Argo. Man, remember Godzilla Final Wars? was that such a great movie? Where all the characters just got into the flying ship and then flew around the world following Godzilla.
Also, I think it's really funny that their flying headquarters is the USS Argo. The Argo, of course, is a ship, not a plane. It's Jason's ship and Jason and the Argonauts, Greek legend and myth. Famous, like the big journey for Jason the Argonauts was the search for the Golden Fleece, which has a lot of history in Greek mythology. I think it's even related to Cadmus, who was a legendary like monster fighter. And, Jason and the Argonauts fought a lot of monsters, but also after the whole journey, they dedicated the boat to Poseidon, ruler of the seas. Meanwhile, in Kong, they were on the Athena, which is a ship, goddess of wisdom, but also war. And that was knowledge versus war was a big thing that was going on in that movie. But it's also funny because Athena's enemy was Poseidon. So naming a boat after her is kind of funny.
It is interesting because Monarch is so much more in this movie. We also get little readouts of all the different outposts that they have around the globe. And we get like quick references to other titans that they're keeping track of. And there's a lot of mythological references. There's a Tiamat, there's a Scylla, there's a Behemoth. There's a lot of different stuff going on.
Scylla?
Scylla?
Yeah.
Okay, Scylla. I thought it was Scylla.
I think it's Scylla.
Is it Scylla?
Yeah, Scylla.
Either way, the one that almost ate Odysseus.
Yeah.
So, but that's like a little background reference of like Monarch now has a bunch of these different outposts, and they're trying to keep tabs on all these titans that they're, the world knows about giant monsters at this point, and so they also know about Monarch, like, looking at these guys. But that's why the military is like, hey, why don't we just kill them and solve the problem? And of course, Mark, our main character, technically is like, yeah, why don't we just kill Godzilla? I mean, all the titans. Anyway.
Again, bold enough to assume that you can kill them.
Right. So Godzilla drops from the radar, and Rick Stanton, the Rick and Morty guy, he believes that Godzilla is using underground tunnels and wormholes from the Hollow Earth to move around quickly. So once again, another Hollow Earth reference. They were really setting that up in Godzilla vs. Kong, and I just completely forgot about it the first time I watched Godzilla vs. Kong. All the Hollow Earth foreshadowing. But they were setting that up.
I love that they're like the flimsiest excuse for the traveling is that, but I'm like, but it's still okay.
No, the Final Wars, they were just like Godzilla's fast.
I cannot dwell on the Hollow Earth because the foundation will crumble if I think about it. Ironically, I'm like, whatever, just move on.
So the group gets to the Antarctica outpost. There's a firefight between G-Team and Jonah's mercenaries. It's pretty cool. Mark fights his way inside to save his wife and daughter, picking up a gun from a dead body and being like, I need to save my daughter from and my bitch ex-wife because they were kidnapped, but they weren't kidnapped, actually. They're working with Lannister himself. I mean, Alan Jonah.
I love the twist. One, I love always that it's like any man in an action movie, even if he does not have military experience, is capable of doing special ops. Again, most divorced man. Two, I did like the twist that actually they were working with Tywin Lannister and that they are also a part of the eco-terrorism.
Yeah. It's a great twist. It gets dumb later on in the movie.
Yeah.
And Charles Dance's character, eco-terrorist Jonah, is like, hey, your motivations are dumb. Like, they say that in the movie, which is very funny.
Again, and you're wondering why I was a little bit less into this one than I was into Kong. Again, it's very much a movie made for you. I'm not knocking that.
I'm having so much fun.
But I'm an outsider.
So Emma sets off the detonator, cracking open the ice containing Monster Zero. Everyone's fleeing as the facility is breaking apart around them. Mark tries to follow the mercenaries and his wife and daughter, but he then has to end up going back to save members of G-Team. So we get like a brief like save the cat, like okay, he's a good guy,
Yeah.
moment, but he has to sacrifice going after his wife and daughter immediately to save some lives. Great,
Mhm.
awesome, cool scene. And then Emma activates the orca and wakes up Monster Zero. As the outpost falls into a huge crater, it glows. And then everyone who made it outside watches as Monster Zero, King Ghidorah, emerges. And then Godzilla shows up and attacks. So we have Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. We have King Ghidorah firing out his lightning breath and just wasting people. We've got all of these different like Antarctica outpost buildings flying everywhere. We make sure to cut to all the humans running for their lives as the monsters fight above them and the world is blowing up around them. It's great. It's awesome. We get a scene of Godzilla shooting his atomic breath and King Ghidorah counters with his, three-way lightning beams, and it breaks through the atomic breath and hits Godzilla. It's cool. I'm sorry, I'm having so much fun,
Yeah.
Kayla. Can't you tell?
Yeah.
So, I will say, during the fight, Dr. Vivian Graham gets eaten by King Ghidorah. And as the Argo flies in to join the fight, it fires at Ghidorah, and then King Ghidorah flees. It's a very quick, like, this character from the previous movie gets eaten, and we do get a quick scene afterward of Dr. Sarazawa mourning her death, and then it just kind of disappears.
Well, it's like I feel like I didn't really know Dr. Vivian Graham well,
No.
so I was like, when that happened, I was like, oh, that's an important character from
Yeah.
the context of like Sarazawa's, like the way the camera kind of lingered, and then later Sarazawa's reaction. I was like, oh yeah, yes, that character. But
Yeah.
again, the weakness in this movie is
She didn't have time to develop her own character, and every scene that she's in is with Dr. Ishiro Sarazawa, and so Ken Watanabe is, of course, like taking up the screen in
Yeah.
every scene he's in, which is he's the best character in these movies. So everyone regroups. King Ghidorah disappeared inside a tropical storm. Godzilla is following Jonah's forces to Isla de Mara in Mexico. Mark can't believe his ex-wife, sorry, would do something so evil, and then his ex-wife appears on screens around the bridge like a cartoon and confirms she's doing this to prevent climate change. That's right, humanity is the real disease on planet Earth, and the Titans, through destroying society, will cure the Earth. So,
okay.
So Madison Stranger Things is having second thoughts about the plan.
I just want to talk about Millie Bobby Brown in this movie.
Though she was in so much of the trailers when they came out.
She was. I mean, I remember seeing the trailers for this movie and being like, "You go, Millie Bobby Brown." She is in a lot of the trailers for this movie. She doesn't get a lot of like. It's funny because it's like she's kind of there a lot in the beginning, and it seems like we're gonna be with her, and then we're not really with her. I think if we were with her more, it would be a stronger movie, but it feels like the movie kind of wants to be with her dad more.
Yeah.
And the dad just doesn't, the dad's not as interesting to me as this like 12-year-old eco-terrorist, you know?
Well, and that's the thing. The next scene is we have Madison having second thoughts
Yeah,
about the plan. And then Jonah is like, what did you think we were doing?
Yeah. And and again, like the other thing too, I mean, you could have had, when I talk about like, oh, I wanted to be with Millie more than the dad didn't interest me as much. I mean, I'm kind of like, I want to pick a character. One of the strengths of Godzilla 1954, aside from a limited human cast that allows them to have depth and complexity and nuance, is that you're kind of just with, what's her face a lot. God, I can't remember her name. The woman in Godzilla.
It's fine. We've seen a lot of these movies.
Yeah.
The main female lead in the original Godzilla.
Like, you're kind of with her a lot, and you're sort of in her POV as we're going through everything. And that helps. Being with one character can really help ground the audience. And if one character is like really fleshed out and strong, that's better, in my opinion, than a bunch of characters who are less fleshed out. You know, this is too big of an ensemble.
Yeah.
To really focus on much. And I feel like not just riding shotgun with Millie Bobby Brown for a good portion of the movie is a little bit of a waste, because you had Millie Bobby Brown at a peak moment in her career.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is her feature film debut. America has fallen in love. The first 2 seasons of Stranger Things, she's she's playing a very different character from 11,
Mhm.
and I really like her character. She's like she's got this like edge to her that is different from the edge that 11 had. She's sassy. She's still so like young but so in command of her ability and what she's doing. Like I really liked her in this movie. And I think that I think it would have been way more fun to have her go up against Charles Dance a lot more. Take advantage of the whole everybody loved Tywin and Arya's scenes a lot. Like there's some parts of this movie that I'm like, I feel like if you kind of pumped up like this or that or there, it would have overall been a little bit stronger.
Mhm.
But I understand, like, these sort of things happen. You got a lot of characters you have to service. You have a lot of characters that need to be in there for the tie-in. It's a big fucking movie.
I mean, at the
Like,
very least, they didn't put her in all the trailers and then kill her off
yeah,
at the end of Act 1.
yeah, no, she's still a thorough
She's
line in
there
this
in the
movie.
movie.
She's still a major character that is affecting things going on that we keep coming back to. I don't think that they mismarketed at all. I just wish that this movie, because it has such a large ensemble, I kind of wish that they just stuck us with the character a little bit more to help ground us rather than having all of these characters that sort of were like all a little like shallowish,
Mhm.
you know.
So let's get into the rest of this
Yeah.
because we got a lot more monster fight to go over. So the villains go over to Isla de Mara in Mexico. There's a volcano that Monarch has an outpost over, and then the outpost gets messed up, and the villains turn on the Orca and awaken the Titan that rests inside the volcano, and that Titan is Rodan. Rodan emerges from the volcano and flies down through the village. And one of my favorite shots of the movie comes up where he's literally just flying over the village, and the shockwave from his sheer size is enough to just take down all the buildings underneath him. Once again, showing off that these giant monsters are huge.
I liked the vacuum that he was creating that was sweeping people
Yeah.
up like a tornado.
And so Monarch sends in their fighter jets to intercept him and like bring him into a dogfight in the skies. And Rodan is like shooting fire at them, and he like does a little barrel roll move to just destroy a bunch of fighter jets with his wings. We even cut to a little shot of his face, and he gives a little pterodactyl smirk. Like it's great. They give Rodan a lot of personality in this movie. So then it's just the Argo, the flying fortress, and it's being chased directly by Rodan. And they're like, oh no, how do we shake him? Well, let's fly into that tropical storm that King Ghidorah disappeared into. Wait a minute, that's not a tropical storm. King Ghidorah is generating it. And we get another great shot of the Argo going into the eye of the storm, and it's dark, and then lightning flashes, and we see the form of King Ghidorah staring at them. So good. Once again, giant monsters as natural disaster.
Mhm.
Great. They dive. King Ghidorah and Rodan fight. King Ghidorah kicks Rodan's ass immediately. There's like a quick scene where there's another jet carrying like civilians from the town, and they have to open up the Argo's like back door, and then they just have to fly in the jet into the Argo, and it like crashes in the hangar. Pretty good action scene. You know, we got stuff for the humans to do while the giant monsters are doing their thing. And then the military calls Monarch and tells them they have secretly developed an anti Titan weapon that they have already fired, and it's on its way. The Oxygen Destroyer. No foreshadowing, no mention of this. A military guy comes on screen and says in a very bored voice, we are launching an oxygen destroyer to kill these giant monsters. So the weapon from the original Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
As
I wish that they flagged that a little earlier. It just kind of felt like a bit of a Deus Ex Machina. I mean, it doesn't work,
it
so
doesn't
it doesn't
work,
fully.
but it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, like that's the thing is there's no. And I mean, Serizawa is so connected to the oxygen. Like Serizawa makes the oxygen destroyer in the original film, and here we have Serizawa again.
Mhm.
No connection. Well, he does have a connection, but
Well,
he's not.
And
Like,
we had the opportunity because we had the scene earlier with Serizawa in the Senate committee meeting
Yeah.
with the military people. And it would have been so cool to have one of the military people being like, look, we have created a weapon that can destroy these things. And then you could have like interplay between the
Yeah.
military people saying we have an oxygen destroyer and the Serizawa character being like, that's a bad idea.
I also think it actually would have been interesting to keep Serizawa as the Oxygen Destroyer's creator, especially because now he's kind of on the Titan side in Monarch. If he had originally created this as a method for eliminating the Titans, or maybe he'd like helped design it or a prototype or something like that, but then he, through his work with Monarch, decided actually no, we can't just unilaterally kill these guys. We need them for the ecosystem of the planet or whatever, and destroying them could have larger consequences. And then he decided, like, to try to suppress that or to hide it, and then it finds out like actually your designs and your plans did come to fruition without your knowledge, your understanding, and then that's like a whole snowball effect. And it would be, I think, kind of a call out to Oppenheimer's the father of the nuclear bomb, and then later became a huge disarmament and anti-nuclear bomb advocate later into his life.
But no, we give that to Mark and the Orca. Hey, the work that you used has been created and against your original wishes.
I really just think that it would have been cleaner to have that coalesced into one character.
Yeah.
Like that, again, the issue is that we have a lot of characters who don't have a ton going on to them. And if we were able to compress these characters and give, because you're splitting the Serizawa and then the Mark with the Orca and all of it. It's like, if it's just one character, that'd be stronger.
Yeah.
You'd get more focus and you get more depth and stuff. But yeah.
So Monarch evacuates. The military fires the Oxygen Destroyer. Godzilla appears to fight King Ghidorah once more. And so Godzilla drags him down to the water. He bites off one of his heads. It looks like Godzilla's actually probably going to win this fight. And then the Oxygen Destroyer hits the water. A big mushroom cloud appears from the explosion. Dead fish all through the surface of the water. Ghidorah flies up into the air. And Godzilla sinks away.
Oops.
King Ghidorah flies up to the erupting volcano, and as he stands at the top, he spreads his wings with a Christian cross in the foreground. Getting that devil Christian symbolism here, which is usually, the putting the cross in there is usually for Mothra.
I know. I mean, she's in this movie.
He regenerates his bitten off head, and then he roars, awakening the rest of the Titans across the globe. As Rodan bows in submission, doing the full Starscream. Hey, I just fought you, but you kicked my ass, and now I'm going to serve you. All the rest of the other Titans across the world start just wreaking havoc. Very final wars, destroy all monsters, great stuff.
There's even a Phoenix mention.
Meanwhile, in China, a Monarch team, including Dr. Brooks from the previous movie, Kong Skull Island, and Dr. Chen's twin sister, Dr. Ling, watch over Mothra's cocoon. She emerges in her moth form under a waterfall, and she's beautiful.
She's beautiful.
So it turns out Dr. Chen and Dr. Ling are part of a long line of twins that oversee Mothra. And so that's sort of our allusion to the twin fairies.
Cute.
They may or may not be magical, but they're not part of the Infant Islanders, though we do get a little Infant Island mention, but that's sort of that's how the Monsterverse mythology brings in the twin fairies, rather than just Mothra flies over two girls.
Yeah, cute.
Like they did in GMK. So, exposition time. Ghidorah is an alien that fought Godzilla in the ancient past. Godzilla kicked his ass, and that's why he was in the ice. Now he's using his Alpha Titan powers to control the other Titans and cause them to go on a rampage. Mothra is the queen of the monsters and has a symbiotic relationship with Godzilla. And through Mothra calling for Godzilla, they discover that Godzilla is still alive.
I love that whole bit because the guys, the Monarch guys or military guy, whoever the fuck it is, they're in the control center watching all this and like, do Mothra and Godzilla have a thing? They got a thing, and then they're like, it's a symbiotic relationship, and I'm like, and they're having sex.
That's the thing, though. This is fascinating because so many people, their impression of Mothra is from the Monsterverse movies.
Yeah.
And so you look back at like all the previous movies, and it's like Mothra's evolving relationship with Godzilla is more often than not she's there to kick Godzilla's ass.
In the modern movies, that's his girlfriend.
Exactly.
Because she's the girl monster and Godzilla is the boy monster. So they're dating.
Yes.
That's how that works.
And later on, spoilers, Mothra will return.
In
it
Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, it is made clear that Mothra is the only Titan that can calm down Godzilla as well. Like every other Titan, Godzilla immediately goes to kick their ass. Mothra shows up, and Godzilla's like, "Oh, hey, it's Mothra."
Is she the Omega to his Alpha?
Pretty much, yeah. It's the scene in 300 where the Spartan King
Not the fucking scene in 300.
where he has to turn around and look at his wife to get permission to kick someone's ass.
Oh my god. To kill him. Permission to kill him. He pushes them into a pit.
Yes, but first he has to look at his wife for approval. That's the thing. Godzilla's in the middle of fighting another monster, and then Mothra shows up, and Godzilla's like, "Okay, fine, I'll calm down for you, Mothra." But that's also I love her characterization because she's not just the, female beauty. She's with Godzilla fighting alongside him.
Yeah.
So what I very much love this
Feminism,
interpretation of
etc.
Mothra. But it is very funny looking through previous movies in the franchise. It's like, no, more often than not, Mothra and Godzilla are like throwing hands on sight.
Yeah.
And Mothra wins a lot of the time. So, using a submarine, the humans go deep underwater and they find an ancient ruin with art of humans worshiping Godzilla. And they find Godzilla sleeping in an incredibly radioactive chamber surrounded by molten lava. He's recovering, absorbing natural radiation, but they need him back now, and he won't regenerate for like another few years. So they can't get close to him because it's incredibly radioactive. So Dr. Serizawa comes up with a plan. He will take one of the nuclear torpedoes on the submarine, and he will drive it to Godzilla, and he will sacrifice himself.
They can't launch it because their systems are fucked.
Yes. He will sacrifice himself to blow up the nuclear torpedo and supercharge Godzilla and save him. Serizawa, before he goes on this mission, states that he believes in coexistence with Titans. He gives Mark his notes, and as he goes in, he walks up, he places the warhead, he looks Godzilla in the eye, and he says in Japanese, "Goodbye, old friend."
They also make it very clear that the radiation is so extreme currently that he barely has enough time to just place the bomb.
Yeah.
Before his body starts to totally break down and turn into mush, basically. It is very heavy that Serizawa, of course it mimics 1954 when Serizawa sacrifices himself that time to kill Godzilla and save Tokyo.
Yeah, this episode's already going on so long, but let's park our car here and take off our seatbelts and examine this scene because there's a lot going on.
Serizawa, whose father died in Hiroshima.
First name Ishiro, based off the director of Godzilla. Last name Serizawa, based off the character who killed Godzilla in the original film.
Is now volunteering to sacrifice his life.
Instead of destroying his notes, he gives his notes to Mark. Instead of using the oxygen destroyer, he uses a nuclear warhead to save Godzilla.
And also commit suicide. See
why? So what's the themes here?
Exactly. This is why the themes in Kong are really clear. The themes in this. This is what I'm talking about when I say bringing Godzilla too far from nuclear annihilation is when things start to get, making him the climate change, and then you're using the nukes to help Godzilla, but it's like, but the nukes are bad. Like, it's just...
And then later on, we're doing the whole, but this time we're going to help Godzilla, and so Godzilla charges into battle with a military formation with him.
Also, I'm going to be real with you. Why is it Serizawa?
Well, it's a total inversion of the original Serizawa character's thing. Instead of burning notes, he gives the notes. Instead of using oxygen destroyer, he uses a nuclear torpedo. Instead of killing Godzilla, he saves Godzilla.
But why?
Why?
Why is Serizawa the character that has to make this move? It's really clear in 1954 why Serizawa has to be the one to make the sacrifice play. It is the only reason Serizawa is making the sacrifice play is, hey, remember Godzilla 1954?
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember Serizawa and Godzilla 1954? We're going to do that again. That's not there is no reason in this movie for this Serizawa to make this sacrifice play other than like anybody else could have done it. And yeah, maybe somebody had to do it, but this is when we're getting to the writing is not All of this is made up, guys.
Yeah.
All of this is made up. So it should be thematically cohesive. There should be a reason why the character has to make that sacrifice play.
Well, the reason is because he's the character that has the most emotional connection with Godzilla, both within the movie itself, but also in the meta context. But when you do that, oh, he's the one who makes a sacrifice because he has the connection with Godzilla. But you don't think about the greater themes of the scene. And with him stating, like, I believe in coexistence with the Titans, and then using a nuclear torpedo to recharge Godzilla to save the day, it, like, the themes kind of play out as, like, we need to work toward coexistence in a post-nuclear world.
I don't know. It just doesn't.
Like, right?
Because they're using one weapon of annihilation to prevent another weapon. It's fire and fire, basically. It's like, we're going to use the nuke, which represents an existential threat to existence on Earth, in order to supercharge the manifestation of nuclear annihilation, which is now it's all about climate change.
Yeah, the existential threat is climate change in the MonsterVerse.
So we're going to use nukes to fight climate change. Now, this has happened before, actually. This is not the only media I have seen that has used nukes to technically fight climate change for the benefit of saving humanity. This happens in an incredibly popular science fiction novel / movie, Project Hail Mary.
Oh, what is that? When's that coming out? Is that
March?
Okay, so that should be out by the time this episode comes out. You're a big fan of that?
Yeah.
Cool.
They justified dropping in the book. There's a existential climate crisis event happening, and they need to keep the planet warmer in order to buy themselves time. Because everything's getting too cold. And they drop a nuke in Antarctica to release the gases or whatever to help keep the planet warmer. They acknowledge that they are committing untold acts of destruction. Like they acknowledge
destruction,
the environmental destruction that they are doing. They're like, this is the lesser of two evils, because the other option is that we all die.
Mm-hmm.
But what we are doing is god awful. And I feel like there's that sort of weight is not in these movies.
No.
Like, I want there to be more weight of the atrocity, like the hard I want the hard decisions, these costly decisions of using nukes, to mean something more than his father died in a nuclear attack and now he is committing an honorable suicidal the Japanese character is committing an honorable suicide in order to save everybody.
Yeah.
Like, with the nuke. I mean, it's like
yeah,
like, it's not, the optics of it are not great. And the weight of, like, if you are using nukes, I want there to be a lot of weight to it. And there's just not, like, we're not thinking about, it's just like, we got to use it to supercharge Godzilla. And it's like, is this how is the oxygen destroyer? It kills everything in a 2-mile radius. Holy shit.
Godzilla's just strong.
How is that going to, I know, but the destruction that is happening in that part of the ocean, is that going to cause problems?
Did you see the post-credits scene?
There was a post-credits
scene?
Oh,
God, dang it, Kayla. We'll get to that when we get to it. Well, okay, we're so far into this podcast, so let's rapid fire the plot developments. But I am glad that we got to pause for the Serizawa blows himself up with a nuclear warhead.
I know that you love the fight scenes, but discussing that is a little...
No, it is a huge
play-by-play
hole in this
of
movie.
The fight scenes, yeah.
It is a huge hole in this movie, that scene.
Again, the thematic cohesion of the story in this movie, it's not, like, the monster fights are really cool, but story-wise, this movie is not...
Yeah, you think about it, it's like, and there's a lot of respectful nods to the Godzilla franchise, but I think the Serizawa scene could have used some work.
The nods, a lot of the nods to the Godzilla franchise are just nods, not like in conversation with the previous Godzilla movies.
Well, I think,
or adding necessarily.
I think Mothra and King Ghidorah's characterizations are in conversation with like the previous franchise.
Sure.
Yeah, and I will say, in this big moment, the ancient ruins are destroyed. Godzilla is supercharged. He comes up to the surface of the ocean. He fires an atomic breath into the sky as his theme plays. and everyone's like, whoa, and this is the big Godzilla's
Why does he
back
fire
moment.
the atomic breath?
Huh?
Why does he fire it?
Because it's cool, and we can put it on the poster.
I fucking hate
It's
this.
an iconic visual, Kayla. Have fun. He's back, baby.
Doesn't it use a lot of energy for him?
No, he's supercharged.
Okay, whatever.
That's to show that he's got energy to spare now.
I'm just
he's
saying,
just firing up into the sky
this
to
is
show
like
he's back.
the only time that he's ever done an unmotivated. He always aims
The
it at
motivation is, I'm back, bitches. Let's go.
Okay, whatever.
So.
I'm already wearing my Killjoy hat for this movie. Carry on.
Kayla hates fun and whimsy.
That's not true. I loved King Kong, Kong Skull Island, Apocalypse Now, to Electric Boogaloo.
Fair enough.
Play Creedence Clearwater Revival again.
That's what this movie needed.
Yeah, maybe it did.
So for some reason, our final battle is going to take place in Boston. I just watched this movie and I
Because
forget.
Fenway Park gave them a lot of money, I guess.
Yes. By the way, we do also get a shot of King Ghidorah destroying Washington, so that's fun.
Always a good time.
Yeah. So our final battle is going to take place in Boston. Madison realizes the error of her ways, and so the Stranger Things girl sneaks out with the orca. She then activates it at Fenway Park using the stadium's loudspeakers to broadcast the signal. That causes the Titans around the world to calm down, but it also causes King Ghidorah to come to Fenway Park and start blowing stuff up with his electric breath. Madison is almost killed and is saved at the last moment by Godzilla, accompanied by the U.S. military flying in formation behind him.
Play Freebird.
We're joining the fight, everyone.
Yeah, they literally are like, Bradley Whitford is like, oh, we're gonna let Godzilla and King Ghidorah, go at each other a whole let them fight Sarazawa special.
Yeah.
Used to love when he said that. And then Mark is like, this time we're joining the fight. And I visibly cringed the way that it was
I love that
positioned.
line.
I know you did.
I
know you
It
did.
was in all the trailers. It's fun. I do
Yeah.
appreciate the running theme of humanity in the MonsterVerse movies being like, okay, but we're going to help.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm fine with that.
But it is also Godzilla swimming in formation with the U.S. military. And it's like, come on. So Godzilla and Ghidorah start fighting. Rick Stan determines that Godzilla has absorbed so much radiation from the nuclear torpedo that he'll explode like an atomic bomb in 12 minutes. So that's why he had to shoot the atomic breath in the sky. Kayla, he had too much energy. He still has it.
Okay.
So we have a ticking clock to rescue Madison. Mark goes to Fenway Park and he finds the orca, but not Madison. Then his ex-wife Emma shows up in a Jeep. She also had a crisis of conscience, even though her plan was to kill humanity.
Well, now her daughter's involved.
Now her daughter's in danger. So
it makes things different.
So
Other people's daughters, she can kill, but not her daughter.
So Mark and some soldiers get into the Jeep, and one of the they're arguing because they're divorced.
Oh my god, the most divorced scene.
They're so divorced, and then one of the soldiers is like, if I had you as parents, I would also run away. Both of you are awful people.
Well, yeah, no, but what happens? He says, like, he turns to the other guy and he's like, if these guys were my parents, I would run away too. And they're like, what did you say? And he's like, if you guys were my parents, I would have run away too.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I'm just gonna say it with my full chest, I get why Madison ran away. You guys are being awful. Like, you guys must have been awful parents.
But then they're like, oh my god, Madison must have run to our old home.
Yeah, that's their realization.
And it does kind of cut into Madison's
This is why it happened in
character
Boston,
a bit,
because
but
they decided that it was...
Yeah, no, that's fair. They're from Boston.
They're from Boston for reasons. Good thing that the final battle happened in Boston.
Right. So they go to the old home. They find Madison while all the monster fights are going on. They get her. They get out. That's the human plot. Let's focus on the monsters. We have supercharged Godzilla. Well, he's not supercharged just yet. We got the ticking clock. He's fighting King Ghidorah again. There's lightning bolts. There's atomic breaths. There's all this cool stuff. Rodan comes in to help out Ghidorah, but then Mothra comes in to take on Rodan. And that's super cool. They're fighting each other. Rodan injures Mothra, tears at her wings, and then as he slams her into a building, Rodan dives in to finish her off, and then Mothra stabs him with a stinger.
Yeah.
Because Mothra has all the powers of every moth.
Do moths even have... I think it's just insects in general. I don't know if the moths even have
stingers. I believe
stingers.
hawk moths have stingers.
Oh. Okay, well, carry on.
Yeah, she's very hawk moth in design in the MonsterVerse. So yeah, she like stares into Rodan's eyes as she stabs him with her stinger, and then Rodan falls to the ground, and then Mothra falls as well. Ghidorah grabs Godzilla, flies up into the air, and then drops him like he did with Anguirus and destroy all monsters. How about that? And then Ghidorah is ready to finish Godzilla off, But Mothra gets in the way of the blast, and she blows up and turns into sparkle dust that then is infused into Godzilla. Ghidorah goes to eat Godzilla's energy, but then Emma and Mark repair the Orca and activate it, drawing Ghidorah's attention. Emma takes the Orca in a jeep and drives off, sacrificing herself so Mark and Madison can escape. Ghidorah destroys the jeep, looks down at the wounded Emma. Emma looks up and goes, "Long live the king." And then Godzilla shows up and takes down Ghidorah. You see, Godzilla is now red and supercharged, both from the nuclear torpedo as well as from all the Mothra energy, which is a tradition in the Godzilla franchise.
Yep.
Remember the first time this happened, that was Rodan doing it, but now it's Mothra. And Mothra's also done in the past as well. But anyway.
I don't think any moth has a stinger.
Really?
I'm like,
I thought hawk moths had stingers, but I
no,
might
they
be wrong.
don't.
Well, they gave her a stinger in this movie.
Yeah,
And it's great.
no, that's fine. I don't care. Like, she's a giant kaiju. She can have a stinger.
Yeah, she can. Mothra can have a stinger as a treat.
As a treat.
Yeah. So Godzilla is glowing red. His hide is cracked, and the buildings around him are melting from the radioactive heat he is giving off. He lets loose one energy pulse. Boom! Ghidorah falls to the ground. He lets loose another energy pulse. Boom! Godzilla places his foot on Ghidorah's stomach. And then, boom! One big explosion. Boston is fucked.
I think the people in the fucking Osprey, the flying Argo or whatever the shit that they're in now, they're fucked. I mean,
yeah.
It seemed like they were still really close to
right, like
to Godzilla. I'm like, I think everybody has cancer.
No, they evacuated the city and everyone gets out of the way of the big explosions, but also like
I don't know. It seems like they're
Boston
really
is gone forever.
That shit is irradiated.
Yeah, that too. Well, we'll get into that in the credits. I don't know how much of the credits you watched, but so
apparently not enough.
City blown up, rubble. Ghidorah's head comes out of the rubble. Oh no, he's still alive. But wait, it's actually Ghidorah's head in Godzilla's mouth that he flings around and then fires his atomic breath and destroys it. All the other Titans appear from around the globe, but they were able to get to Boston very quickly.
They used the Hollow Earth tunnels.
They used the Hollow Earth tunnels. That's right.
Well, how big? Godzilla is huge. How big is this fucking Hollow Earth tunnel? And how do we not?
How big is the Earth?
The Hollow Earth?
The core of Earth? It's pretty big.
No, I mean, like, but is it? Are they all in the ocean?
We will get into the
whatever. I can't apply
the magic science of the Hollow Earth warp tunnels in Godzilla vs Kong and Godzilla X Kong New Empire. I swear to you, we will get into the magic science of it.
Journey to the center of the Earth.
It tracks. They
Shit.
foreshadow the Hollow Earth stuff. It's going to be important. Later.
Everybody's there and they bow, and then we roll the credits and we see how the Titans are solving climate change.
Yes, well,
I saw that. I saw the fancy credits.
Cool. Well,
I always watch the fancy credits,
and I do appreciate that one of the final lines from the humans. It's like, it's a good thing he's on our side for now. Roll credits. There's a bunch of newspaper articles and like website blogs. What am I saying? Blog titles and stuff like that. The Titans are now all coexisting on Earth and also are solving climate change.
Yeah.
Like anytime they go through an area, like nature just gets like unscrewed up.
I don't understand. I thought Godzilla was super radiated. How is he causing?
No, his radiation is actually making plants grow. So
that's not how radiation works.
But no, see, the Titans, their presence, now that they've woken up, wherever they walk around, climate change gets unscrewed up.
Okay.
And that's in the credits of the movie.
Okay.
Is that wherever Godzilla goes, nature heals itself.
The nuclear bombs, guys, are actually going to heal.
Yes.
Everything.
No,
so.
It's great. It's awesome. Climate change is solved as long as the Titans get to just kind of like walk around and coexist with us. See, it works out. You know, we don't need the Titans to kill all of us humans. We don't need to change our society or how like we need status. We need to live in coexistence with the Titans, and so we'll get into that world building in the next movies. But overall, whenever Godzilla destroys a city,
it's fine.
A year later, it's just going to be covered in trees, so it's all good. So
this is still
also Skull Island has become unstable. That's some foreshadowing for the next movie as well.
This shit is muddy.
Yep. So post-credit sequence that Kayla did not see. we see some Isla, yes. We see some Isla Damara fishermen lead Jonah, the eco-terrorist, into a room. They reveal that, hey, our entire industry is now screwed up because all the fish are dead in our village. We have received untold ecological damage because of the oxygen destroyer.
Gee, would have liked to see that in the movie itself.
Well, it's post credits. We get the little world building.
Postcards don't count. Go
Post
on.
credits you just gotta watch them. You gotta watch the credits. You gotta
If they
respect all
wanted
those
me
names.
to see it, it's in the. I'm one of those names, first off. And if they wanted me to see it, it should be in the goddamn movie.
Well, it is. It's in the post credits. So
The post credits are not. Whatever.
So these fishermen who had their entire livelihoods destroyed by U.S. military intervention and also giant monsters. But hey, maybe we'll just get Godzilla to soak in the waters for a little bit. Anyway, so they bring Jonah into a room where they reveal that they have one of King Ghidorah's heads. And Jonah says, "We'll take it." And that's the end of the movie, setting up another thing later on in the MonsterVerse. I can see you not like this movie the more we talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, let me get my fun facts out of the way real quick.
It was more enjoyable than a lot of Godzilla movies, but that's also like saying this cheap cheeseburger I've had way worse cheap cheeseburgers, you know?
You're right, it needed Jet Jaguar. So
I'm gonna kill you.
so some fun
Readers, you wanna know the worst part about this? It's fucking self-inflicted. I was the one that was like, we should do a Godzilla podcast.
So some fun facts real quick. In an interview with comicbook.com, director Michael Dougherty implied a few references in the movies. The orca is named after Boat and Jaws. Rick Stan is modeled after Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. I mentioned that one.
That's crazy. That's so out of pocket.
Outpost 32 in Antarctica, that's hard for me to say, is a reference to Outpost 31 from The Thing. A quote from Michael Dougherty. "I like that idea that when Outpost 31 burned to the ground, they had to build another one."
Area 52 nonsense.
The other Outpost names, Outpost 61 references the release year of Mothra's debut film in 1961. Outpost 56, which is Rodan's Outpost, references his debut film, which released in 1956. Outpost 54 likely references the release year of Godzilla's debut film in 1954. And Outpost 33, which is labeled on a computer screen over Skull Island, refers to King Kong's release year in 1933.
They should have done Outpost 55. It's the movie's fucking called Godzilla King of the Monsters. Where's the Outpost 55?
Well, it would have been 56.
56. Where's Outpost 50? Oh, 56 is Rodan's year.
In an interview with Screen Rant, speaking of this movie needed more kaiju, Michael Dougherty states that if he could have squeezed in one more kaiju, it would have been Biollante. He's a big Biollante fan.
Okay, cool.
Also, in the credits, this film is dedicated to Yoshimitsu Banno, director of Godzilla vs. Ghidorah, and Haruo Nakajima, the original Godzilla actor from 1954 and 1972. Both of them died in 2017. So they get a dedication in this film.
That's nice.
Yeah. And yeah, that's all the fun facts that I had sort of lined up. Just wanted to get them out of the way real quick.
Yeah.
But this movie is so much fun. I really appreciate that it's like we are in the CGI Godzilla era, so we are going to show them as natural disasters. We're going to show during their fights humans running around and trying so desperately to survive as all this destruction is happening around them.
I think everybody looked really good except for King Ghidorah.
I liked King Ghidorah. Why didn't you like King Ghidorah?
I liked King Ghidorah's design.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the CGI was really obviously CGI. Like, it did not look realistic to me. It kind of looked a little bit like, you know, when you're watching something that is mostly 2D animation and then you're like, that's CGI. It obviously, like, so much of this movie is CGI, but that really stood out to me as like, that's CGI. Just something about it was like a little uncanny in its appearance and its movement, I think. The design, I liked the design. I liked that the design was so classic. I don't have an issue with the design. Everybody's designs look great. I'm just saying, I think that the CGI with King Ghidorah seemed unfinished to me. That's all.
I did like the scene where Ghidorah regrows one of his heads.
Yeah.
And it's like you can see the muscle and the sinew move. And then when the head comes out, they're still like, for lack of a better term, head placenta around it that the other heads have to like bite off.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah,
But
that was a cool moment.
yeah, I think though, talking about this more, the human characters have even less characterization than Kong Skull Island, which really says something. There's no Samuel L. Jackson in this movie. Let's be real.
No.
But
Millie could have been the Sam Jackson, I think, but
if
they
they
didn't.
gave her more to do.
They didn't give her more to do.
If they really leaned into child protagonists, they would have to rewrite the mid-movie twist, but it's kind of a dumb twist anyway. So
yeah.
if they leaned into child protagonist Millie Bobby Brown in a Godzilla movie, I think that would have worked a lot more.
Yeah.
I also, if they just took another pass on the Sarazawa very thematically messy sacrifice scene.
Again, they did it because they were like, remember 1954?
Yeah.
Not thinking about the larger implications of any of it. But...
So when reference goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say that this is a great stepping stone in the MonsterVerse franchise into the following Godzilla X Kong movies. And now that it's going to be Godzilla versus Kong, and then there was Godzilla Kong New Empire, and now the next movie is another Godzilla Kong called Supernova.
Godzilla X Kong, which means that it's a romantic ship, not a platonic ship.
Yeah.
Platonic ship is and.
But that's the thing, is that now we have this movie. This is the Godzilla's movie where he becomes king of the monsters, and then the next MonsterVerse movies he becomes a buddy cop with Kong.
I mean, technically speaking, Slash is really the definitive. It's a romantic sexual relationship. And X I have seen referred to sometimes as non-platonic, but come on, guys. It's like always referred to as like and is the platonic indicator. X is shipping. So Godzilla, I hope Mothra's okay with that. Godzilla has a side piece.
That honestly, when we get in the Godzilla Kong New Empire, we'll talk about that
He's
dynamic.
Polyamorous kaiju.
Yeah. But yeah, any last thoughts? What's your rating?
I'll give it 3 stars.
3.5.
Wait, you're negotiating with me?
No,
or
no,
I'm.
Oh,
I thought you were trying to up my score.
I will say this: this movie was in my top 5,
but then you talked to me about it, and I told you why it shouldn't be.
Well, and also we've gone on this journey together. Like I
Yeah.
said, when I originally watched this movie, I watched a few of the Godzilla movies, but I hadn't watched all of them by that point. And so going on this journey and really looking at all these movies critically, trying to separate the charm of the older movies or like nostalgia, like for me not to be a hypocrite, I do have to look at this movie without the nostalgia of me in 2019 when I was so young and but like
we were all so young in 2019.
I appreciate how this movie handles the monsters. I think this is, for me especially, this is the best interpretation of King Ghidorah in the entire franchise. I really like Mothra and Godzilla's dynamic, and what they did with Rodan is also very cool. Like this is, I think, some of the best performances of these monsters. I think the themes are incredibly messy. I think the human characters are incredibly forgettable and a lot of just kind of wasted potential.
The story is muddy.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but I'm like, there's actually there's a lot wrong with this movie. But I still had a great time. I love this movie to death, but also if I have to rate it critically, 3.5.
I think the thing with this movie is that it was a corporate mandate of we want a giant monster movie. Rather than the original origin of Godzilla was not make us a giant monster movie to get butts and seats. It was, using the metaphor of this monster to talk about something very traumatic and real that the censors in Japan at the time made it very difficult to discuss openly. Fast forward to 2019, and now we need something that can compete with the MCU. And that was the primary function of this movie, was epic monster fights, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's where they put all their chips, and then there was nothing else, really, for the rest of the movie. And I think that makes it a much weaker movie than something like Godzilla or Shin Godzilla or Godzilla Minus One,
Mhm.
which are looking at not creating necessarily an entertaining monster movie, but just making a good movie. And how does the metaphor of the monster work to deliver this story?
Yeah.
And this is more of just, we need the flimsiest of excuses to get these guys fighting. And that makes it a weaker movie.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike it. I gave it 3 stars, you know? So I'm not trying to like rag on this movie, but the whole point of this podcast is take these movies really seriously and look at them critically. And when you look at this movie critically, it's got a lot of holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we hold these movies to high standards because many of them have achieved really great heights, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't think that there's anything wrong with coming in and being like, actually, I think it should be deep. Like there's gonna be a lot of people that are like, it's not that deep. I'm like, yeah, it is.
And I think, and here's the thing.
It's always that deep.
You know, a lot of these Godzillas are doing different missions. You know, we really shouldn't hold Godzilla versus Megalon to the same standard as the original Godzilla because they're trying to do 2 different things and 2 different tones. Yes, we are going to examine the legacy of it, the original meaning, but at the same time, we do look at these movies in the time that they're in, and this was definitely a like, you know, let's just get a bunch of giant monsters to fight movie. But with the character of Ishiro Serizawa, with the watch that stopped during Hiroshima, with all of the different references to the Godzilla franchise, well, you're the one setting that tone,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah.
There's a lot of Godzilla movies that have been absolute cash grabs, and they have been very clear about that. But yes, when you want to start trying to have depth, you are making a promise to the audience then, and you are not. This movie did not fully fulfill that promise, in my opinion, because it was muddy.
But I still have an incredibly fun time. Yes, this is still some of the best character interpretations of these giant monsters. Yeah. Absolutely.
I still had a fun time. That's the end of the sentence.
Well, I know you prefer Kong over Godzilla, but as we go further into the MonsterVerse, they become intertwined.
This is
now
crazy.
It's Kong Godzilla movies from
Kong
here on.
Is the size, the steroids that we have put Kong on is crazy. This guy should not be big enough to fight Godzilla. But
well, actually, they dramatically increase his size from Kong Skull Island to Godzilla versus Kong. He's a teenager in Kong Skull Island.
That's right.
Apparently.
They said he's still growing.
Yeah.
They did shadow that. Anyway.
So let's talk about what we're watching next, Kayla.
Next, we'll be watching Godzilla vs. Kong 2021, which was released simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max because it was the COVID times.
Oh, yeah, post-pandemic. Well, I mean, during pandemic. It was the vaccine period.
Vaccine time. If you like this podcast, be sure to subscribe, give us a rating, leave a comment, and share with a friend. Follow us on social media. We got the links in the show notes. We also have a Ko-fi. You can support us there and get access to cool bonus content like extra episodes and access to the private Discord where you can talk with other geeks about Godzilla and all things Digital Kaiju. Check it out. Gorilla Whale is a production of Digital Kaiju Studios. It is hosted and produced by Kevin Carpenter and Kayla Knutson. Gorilla Whale has no official affiliation with Toho, Legendary, or any other companies associated with the Godzilla franchise. We thank you for watching along with us. Until next time, watch out for Titans.
Watch out for Titans. I'm still not used to that.